My name is Nicole Estrada. This is my Organizational Development Intervention After Action presentation called Changes and Implementation for ABC Management. So in this presentation, we will have the title page, the table of contents, the introduction, information about ABC Management, the situations that are being observed at ABC Management, the suggested steps, alterations to these steps, explanation to the change as to why there are changes, as well as pre and post analysis of the situation. So discussed in this presentation will be a company called ABC Management and the current issues that are being held in their medical records department. These issues have been discussed due to the low morale of the employees of the department. Over the last few weeks, there have been suggestions for these issues in order to eliminate them altogether. Although the changes and implementation are not over, this is a current update to the situation. So the company name, ABC Management, is an alias in order to protect the real name of the company. It is against policy to discuss any issues that are being held at work, whether you are a current or past employee or even a future employee. So the name has been changed. So this company in general has many different departments and different locations within California. They handle medical records for the Veterans Department. They also handle medical information for most of the government agencies, including CIA, FBI, DEA. They also recruit doctors and medical practices in order to treat both their VA patients as well as any government agents. So this means if a person is applying to become, a federal agent and at all, ABC Management, they are in charge of putting together their medical record packet. They get all of the requirements that are needed for that agent in order to pass. They order all the lab work. They even send over the lab kit to the specific doctor or medical practice that is going to be performing the treatment or the test or anything like that. So they are in charge of fully handling, medical appointments, creating them, being the third-party person for it, all of that. But today, the focus will be specifically on the medical records department of this company. So the situation at ABC Management has been specifically focused on the medical records department, where there has been a low morale amongst employees, as well as many different complaints from different employees. There are several different articles that discuss, factors leading to high turnover rates is employee stress from other employees. There's also an issue of favoritism, which can be shown within an organization from anyone in a leadership position to anybody in a subordinate position in order to receive loyalty from that specific employee instead. So these are some of the issues, as well as the high turnover rate has resulted in the company hiring temporary employees rather than specifically looking for permanent employees. This is to help reduce the turnover rate that they are currently having an issue with. The favoritism is coming from leadership, and that's anywhere from the people in leadership position looking the other way when it comes to extended breaks or continuous absence from work or request or anything like that. There's also an issue of incorrect time card keeping, and this includes people taking extended breaks when they aren't supposed to. Instead of a 10-minute break, they're taking 15 or 20-minute breaks. It's also, there have been several employees that have actually been terminated from it, but there's employees that will clock out for lunch, continue to work at their desk, clock back in from lunch, and once they clock back in, then they physically go to lunch. And this could be anywhere from, them knowing the different violations that there is for not taking your lunch at certain times, but they want to hang out with their friends. So they clock out so they don't get violations, but at the same time they leave when they're actually supposed to be working. So these are some of the issues that have been seen and dealt with, but need to be prevented. So in regards to the issues, first issue is incorrect time card keeping. These original suggestions that were made is to monitor the employees, basically babysitting them, keeping an eye on the time as far as when they walk away from their desk until they return, which is a hassle, but if it needs to be done, then it needs to be done. Another suggestion was to create a cheat sheet for the different break time slots, and this includes giving a specific breakdown. If you clock in at 8 o'clock, you need to take your first break by 11 o'clock. You need to take lunch by this time. Specifically drawing it out, almost making it dummy proof without saying it's dummy proof. Also, another suggestion is to have weekly training, if not multiple times a week, for a group as a whole, for the department as a whole, training specifically on the laws and policies in regards to time card keeping, why the rules are the way that they are, and also a written contract. And this just specifically says, that they've been trained and warned on policy violations, and if they have more than one, then they are subject to being written up without explanation. So this is the original suggestions for the first issue. For the second issue, which is a high turnover rate, there have been a suggestion to have open meetings to discuss the issues with the department as a whole, have everybody come together, and if they're having an issue, get it out in the open. Let's talk about this. If you're having a personal issue with this person, let's get it out there. Let's squash all the rumors, everything like that. Also making different compromises on how to deal with stress. If a person is uncomfortable working next to a certain employee, okay, let's compromise and move you to the other end of the department, something, in order to prevent employees from saying that they are too stressed out. Another thing is favoritism. One of the suggestions is to make the leadership members aware of these accusations as well as the specific examples that are given, and for these leadership members to actually acknowledge and take accountability. Yes, I understand I am favoring this person, which is hard to do, but it is a suggestion. So the alteration for the previous suggested steps is, instead of having group meetings for time card keeping, do it in smaller groups rather than a department as a whole, in order to make sure everybody's paying attention, everybody knows what's going on, and it really allows that one-on-one focus almost. For the second alteration is to have more one-on-one meetings rather than, again, group meetings in order to prevent stress. The company does allow stress leave, and there's no way to really monitor whether a person is stressed out or not, so it's just a way to remove that as a whole. And the last alteration is to remove the employee from the favoring leader in order to remove the claims of any favoritism to that specific employee. We just completely remove them and put them under somebody else. So the explanation as to why there are changes to the original suggestions is, the first one, too many people in each policy meeting is, again, a risk for people not paying attention, and we also don't want to interrupt the original workflow of people. We don't want to take everybody away, and even if it's just for an hour, that's several different people that could have been helped at that time. The second explanation is the one-on-one meetings allow a person to openly discuss how they feel rather than closing themselves down, trying to prevent other people from judging them. So in order to eliminate that, one-on-one time will allow the employee to hopefully open up more and really discuss how they feel and why they feel that way. And the explanation for the last one is to change the person from the favoring leadership person, and it just reduces the chance of somebody claiming that there's favoritism going on within the department. So the pre-analysis of the situation altogether at ABC Management can be separated between qualitative and quantitative information. Under qualitative, this is research, as many of us know in this level. It's research that does not come from numbers. This can be information in regards to how a person feels, the workflow, the morale, all of that information, which can be observed and even obtained through open-ended discussion. So this is definitely one of the things that happened in order to first start making the suggestions. This is stuff that was observed, and once all this stuff was observed, that's when it was a realization that, okay, what needs to change? We need to analyze to figure out why this stuff is going on. In regards to the quantitative data, this is all numerical stuff that can be measured and charted and all of that. So this is anywhere from the turnover rates that we are getting from employees. That's something that is definitely numbered, and that's something that can be reduced or compared to a previous year or anything like that, as well as the production numbers. If an employee says that they're stressed, which is why their production went low, this is all data, information, numbers that we collect in order to compare to a previous week or a previous month or anything like that, as well as the time clock violations there every week when it comes time for payday or it comes time to submit the time card clock for all of the employees. There's notifications, okay, this person violated this many times. All this information is, again, numerical, which allows us to chart and compare to previous months. Next, we have the post-analysis, and again, separated into qualitative and quantitative information. In regards to qualitative information, this, again, is observed through the morale of the employees, if they're actually happy to come to work, if, they are actually smiling rather than putting on headphones and zoning out and not communicating, not talking to anybody, anything like that. It's also observed through the amount of stress that they express, whether it's, oh, I'm no longer stressed about meeting my deadline or anything like this. And it's also discussed in an open-ended form in regards to, okay, do you still feel like this person is being favored over you or anything like that? So this is everything that is analyzed midway through, as well as, when we feel like all of the changes have been made accordingly without any more alterations. Once we figure out that we have it down, that we are actually making a change, that there is a difference. So this is everything that will be observed again and analyzed again once this implementation and alterations is done. Part of the quantitative information, again, is to check the turnover rate of the employees who become permanent. Once the employees that are on temporary status hit their 90 days, they are either, thanked and told that they no longer need to report, or they are offered a full-time position. Now, out of these people that are offered the full-time position, we monitor the turnover rates for these employees as well as, current permanent employees. So again, numerical data, recording, all of that in order to compare to previous months. This is something, of course, that will take time to analyze, because it does take time for the 90 days to come up and then to get all the information and compare it to years before. As well as the production numbers. If the employees are no longer stressed, their production should go up rather than decrease. So that's something we definitely keep an eye on. As well as the number of time clock violations. Specifically,